Hare Krishna everyone. Welcome to this session again where we'll be discussing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So thanks for joining us today on this auspicious day of Ekadashi, which is also known as Madhav Tithi. Madhav Tithi, Madhav means the Lord of, Goddess of Fortune. And so on this wonderful day, I know devotees all around the world, they have been chanting. Today also happens to be, the appearance day of His Holiness Jayapadaka Maharaj. So we were able to attend virtually his Vyas Puja ceremony, and we are very happy that you have joined us. So let's get started. So today what we'll be doing is we'll do a little Kirtan, followed by Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th Canto Chapter 13, the stealing of the boys and calves by Brahma. So we'll be, looking at the initial verse. We'll read the initial verse and the purport, which are the transcendental ecstasy of Srila Prabhupada. And then we will be discussing various lessons and how do we apply these lessons to our current times. Followed by again Kirtan, which is Nrsimhadev prayer for the protection of everyone. So let's get started. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Jai Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय. All glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshitarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So again, like we said earlier, today we will be covering Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th canto, chapter 13, the stilling of the cowherd boys and calves by Lord Brahma. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayam Mudiryet
Tato Jayamudirye
Shautam Swakatha Krishna
Shravtam Sakatha Krishna
Punya Shavana Kirtanaha
Punya Shravana Kirtana
Hridayantasto Hyabhadrani
Hridantasto Bhadrani
Vidunoti Suhasatam
Vidunoti Sahutsatam
Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya
Bhagavate Uttam Shloke
Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavti Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhakti Nashtiki.
Hare Krishna. So, in the last class, we covered Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th canto, chapter 12, the killing of the demon Aghasur. And Aghasur represents cruelty and violence. And we also heard how Aghasur was actually trying to avenge the death of his older sister and brother. Who was his sister? Putana, the demoness Putana. So she was the first demoness who was killed by Lord Krishna. So the Vishnu and Krishna kills. So that's how she was killed. And then Bakasur was killed as a second demon here, as we heard when we covered the previous chapter, which was chapter 11, the childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna, where all the Vrajvasis moved from Gokul to Vrindavan. And there, first, Vatsasur was killed, the calf demon. And then, this, it looked like it had the body of a duck, and Bakasur was killed, where Lord Krishna forked his beaks just like a child, splits a straw. And in the previous, chapter, we heard how Lord Krishna killed Aghasur. Now, Aghasur represents cruelty and violence. And there is so much cruelty in today's world. People are just for the, to get a thrill, they engage in cruelty. And they can be engaging in violence for no reason. Sometimes there's chemical wars and biological wars, and so many wars are constantly going on. And Srila Prabhupada was already warning the whole world in his messages, in his transcendental purpose, as well as in his wonderful lectures. He was all the time warning that if we don't correct our actions, the reactions will be very troublesome, and there will be trouble for the whole humanity. And today we are seeing some of those reactions coming back, which are affecting many of the devotees as well, which sometimes can be looked at as collateral damage or could be just called as part of the karma kand. So there are various, references. Instead of speculating, devotees, when we get bewildered, what do? We take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are like the perfect boat to cross over this ocean of nations. So, we engage in chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And we engage in devotional service because we want to satisfy Lord Rishikesh, Lord Shri Krishna, who is the master of the senses. So automatically we will be under the protection at his lotus feet, and these material miseries would not affect us. Yet at the same time, we should not surrender our intelligence. We should be very careful. Srila Prabhupada was very clear in his messages that we should not surrender intelligence. We should ask proper questions. We should also be questioning what information we are getting. So again, let's get started and we'll cover some of the lessons for today. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 10th canto, chapter 13, verse 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha
Shri Shukuvacha
Sadhu Prishtam Mahabhaga
Sadhu Prishtam Mahabhaga
Tvaya Bhagavatottama
Maya Bhagavatottama
Yananutana Yasishyasya
Yananutanya Sishasya
Shravannapi Kathamuhu.
Shavannapi Kathamuhu.
Would you like to read?
Shri Shukuvacha
Shri Shuka Uvacha
Sadhu Prishtam Mahabhaga
Sadhu Prishtam Mahabhaga
Tvaya Bhagavatottama
Tvaya Bhagavatottama
Yanutanya Sishasya
Yananutan Yashisasya
Shravannapi Kathamuhu.
Shravannapi Kathamuhu. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shukuvacha.
Shukdev Goswami said,
Shukdev Goswami said,
Sadhu Prishtam,
Sadhu Prishtam,
I have been very much honored by your inquiry.
I have been very much honored by your inquiry.
Mahabhaga,
Mahabhag,
you are a greatly fortunate personality.
you are a greatly fortunate personality.
Tvaya,
Tvaya,
by you.
by you,
Bhagavata Uttam,
Bhagavat Uttama,
O best of devotees.
O best of devotees.
Yat,
Yet,
because
because
Nutanyasi,
Nutanyasi,
you are making newer and newer.
you are making newer and newer.
Ishasya,
Ishasya,
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Shravanapi,
Shravanapi,
although you are continuously hearing.
although you are continuously hearing.
Katham,
Katham,
the pastimes.
the pastimes.
Muhuhu,
Muhu,
again and again.
again and again.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Shukdev Goswami said, O best of devotees, most fortunate Parikshit, you have inquired very nicely. For although constantly hearing the pastimes of the Lord, you are perceiving His activities to be newer and newer. Purport. Unless one is very advanced in Krishna consciousness, one cannot stick to hearing the pastimes of the Lord constantly. Nityam Nava Navayamanam. Even though advanced devotees hear continually about the Lord for years, they still feel that these topics are coming to them as newer and fresher. Therefore, such devotees cannot give up hearing of the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Prevanjana chachurita bhakti vilochanena santah sadev hridayeshu vilokayanti. The Lord, the word santah, is used to refer to persons who have developed love for Krishna. Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Surupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Brahma Samhita 5.38. Parikshit Maharaj therefore is addressed as Bhagavatottama, the best of devotees, because unless one is very much elevated in devotional service, one cannot feel ecstasy from hearing more and more and appreciate the topics as ever fresher and newer. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatadham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So such a beautiful purport. And as you can see, Parikshit Maharaj is referred to as fortunate one, the best of the devotees. And what makes him the fortunate one is because even though he's fasting and he only has, he has been fasting for 1 week, and he only has a few more days before he embraces death, yet at the same time, he is so immersed in hearing about the pastimes of the Lord that he is making the right inquiries. Because in the previous chapter, when Shukdev Goswami revealed to him that even though Aghasur was killed when Lord Krishna was 5 years old, it was not revealed to the Vrajvasis, until a year later. And then it was revealed as if it happened that very day. And right then and there, Parikshit Maharaj had this, curiosity. And he asked this question, how is it possible? And what happened? How was it, what was the cause that this narration which happened was, told over to the Vrajvasis, the residents of Vrindavan, a year later? What was the cause? And at that time, remembering the past time, Shukdev Goswami is enlivened, all his senses are enlivened. He is experiencing the spiritual ecstasy because of this inquiry. Because as Srila Prabhupada reveals, that the pastimes appear newer and fresher. So in the previous chapter, we heard that Aghasur was killed by Lord Krishna. And the Acharyas explained that because Lord Krishna was, he had expanded himself in the, throat of Aghasur, and he could not breathe, and he was fully meditating on Lord Krishna. So by that fully intense meditation, his soul could not go out from any of the holes, the 9 holes of the body. Instead, it broke the bone in the skull and came out. And thus, it will linger up in the sky for some time before it merged into the Lord, and then, it was revealed. So even though soul is spiritual in nature and cannot be seen by material eyes, Lord Krishna makes it possible that he wants everyone to see that Aghasur, who was constantly meditating on the Lord at that last moment, just before he dies, at that time his soul became effulgent, and even to materialize it was visible. So all the Kinnaras, Gandharvas and demigods, they started celebrating because Aghasur was even troublesome to them. And thus they were all singing, the Gandharvas were singing, Apsaras were dancing, Kinnaras were dancing and playing instruments. The whole environment was so jubilant that at that time, even Lord Brahma, who is in the Satyaloka, Brahmalok, Satyalok, that's where he even heard this celebration, so he came out and he saw. And what does he see? He sees that Krishna, just a cowherd boy in Vrindavan, he has killed, an amazing, powerful demon like Aghasur. And he's astonished. And the demigods are showering flowers from the Nandakanana, so again, so much is happening, and all this is astonishing and bewildering to Lord Brahma. And he had heard, it was not that he was ignorant, he had heard that Lord will appear in Yadu dynasty and he would be showing his pastimes. Yet at the same time, he had this desire to show some of the capabilities, and that's where he wants to show some of his mystic yogic potencies. So it's very important for us to understand what kind of anarthas, we get rid of when we hear the story of Aghasur. When we hear Lord Krishna is killing Aghasur, the anartha, the unwanted thing that we have, which can restrict us from entrance into the spiritual realm, into the pastimes of the Lord, into developing our spiritual consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, our progress is hindered by such anarthas. So the anarthas is basically a mentality of cruelty, violence, and causing trouble to others. So again, this is being violent and being very cruel to others. And such anartha is caused by envy. Basically, it's out of envy. And it is also revealed in Garga Samhita that such envy which causes trouble and violence is actually in a subtle manner can be taken as a namaprad also, offense to the holy name. Which can even hinder us further, because when we are chanting the holy name, we are chanting at the lotus feet of Nam Prabhu, begging mercy so that we get blessings and we get delivered from this naissance, the ocean of naissance that we are facing in front of us. And the only shelter is Lord Krishna's lotus feet. Pallava plavam. These are, his lotus feet are just as soft as lotus petals, right? That's why we say lotus feet. Yet at the same time, they are the plavam, they are the perfect boat that can cross us through this ocean of naissance. So we take shelter at his lotus feet. Yet at the same time, somebody could say, how is it possible that it could be, even something a devotee could also have, an anartha? So this envy is revealed in Garga Samhita to be the envy of devotees not sharing Krishna consciousness with others. That is the anartha. And that is called cruelty. So when we talk about the 4 regulative principles, of them, no meat eating. Why? Because it reflects compassion, true compassion at the spiritual level, not at the material level, but rather at the spiritual level. That we want to be compassionate to other living entities. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini shuni chaiva shopake cha pandita samadashina. Lord Krishna reveals in the 8th chapter, 5th verse, Vidya vinaya sampanne, when one is properly endowed with the right knowledge, right, the spiritual knowledge. Brahmane gavihastini. So he is looking at Brahman, and Gavi, which is a cow, and Hastini, an elephant, Shuni Cheva Shopakecha. And he's looking at a dog eater as well as the dog, and he is Pandita Samadashina. He's seeing them with equal vision. Equal vision means that he's seeing that different kind of material bodies these different living entities have. Yet at the same time, every living entity has the Lord situated in his heart as Paramatma, the super soul. And so with that vision they are seeing, and yet at the same time respecting everyone accordingly. They just don't go and embrace a tiger if they see one. Or they don't just come in front of a mad elephant and pay obeisances. So that's where intelligence comes in. And one of the things that we hear in this particular case of the pandemic that's been caused by COVID-19, the coronavirus, one of the lessons we heard is, even though people are taking care of all kinds of precautions, and I happen to work for a medical organization as well, and one of the things that we are realizing and learning from other nations is the additional precautions that we have to take than what we initially thought are sufficient. It's very important that people are washing their hands very nicely every time they come up, go out, or they touch something that others might have touched. They immediately come home, they wash their hands very nicely with soap and water. Because when you use those alcohol wipes or alcohol sprays and all, even that is not very sufficient to clean your hands nicely. Yes, very important. But if you have gone out and you come back inside the house, it's very important not just to wash your hands but also to wash your face. And people are keeping the social distancing. Now there was a very nice lesson that was shared by Czech Republic, because in Europe they have been able to curb this, and there is a very quick decline in the cases and spreading of coronavirus. And they said, yes, everyone is washing their hands, we are also washing our hands. Everyone is keeping the social distancing at least 6 feet, from others. We are also doing that. But there is one thing that we are doing more. They shared what that one thing they're doing more is, even if you are not infected, you are putting a mask on your face. So when they go out, anybody who goes out puts a mask on their face. And the concept is that I protect you and you protect me. So if somebody sneezes, it's within that space, within the space of the mask. Yes, inside the house, when we are with our family members and all, and we are all, very well taking proper care and proper precautions, we can be without mask. But when we walk out of the house, it's very important. And when we come back, it's very important to also disinfect the masks. Another thing that is of importance is, when we go out to do shopping or any other activity, of course we are currently homebound and we want to avoid that as much as possible. Yet at the same time, some of the things you can't avoid and you have to go out, like taking your mail or picking up the food stuff that you may have ordered online. And you go out and then you disinfect the stuff before you take it inside the house. Yet at the same time, washing hands is not sufficient, because this virus does not penetrate through your healthy skin. It is very important to understand that it penetrates through your eyes, nose, ears, and so forth. So when you walk in, you have washed your hands. But what about, when someone has delivered something and by mistake they sneeze, or they have been carrying that virus, and there could be an effect, and that effect could linger in the ear for minutes, 10 to 15 minutes minimum. So in that case, what if you happen to go out within that duration, you could get infected? What's important is you wash your hands and then you wash your face as well. Make sure that you are properly taking care of your health, because that's the area. Keep yourself nicely hydrated throughout the day. Every 20-30 minutes, just take few sips of water. Even before the class, I take a couple of glasses of water, just because I want to be, focused on making sure that I'm paying attention to you and I'm paying attention to my service in devotional service, reading of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So it's very important for us to always keep ourselves hydrated and ready. Another thing is, this virus cannot survive if you continue to drink hot water. So you can drink soups, you can drink hot water, you can drink different kind of herbal solutions. So those are some of the ways you can continue to curb it. Even if it has entered your system, you can immediately curb it, because for 3 to 4 days it's in your throat area. And by taking hot liquid, you are keeping yourself moisturized and killing the virus. And once it goes inside the stomach, the acid in the stomach is sufficient to kill it. So it's very important for us to know what are the right precautions. Now that does not mean that, oh, I know all the solutions, let me go out. Don't be whimsical, because we should take proper precaution, right? And we should not just step outside when there is not a need to go out. So here, this cruelty is also when someone is coming back to the topic, is where, people are not sharing Krishna consciousness. They are not encouraging each other to engage in devotional service. And spreading this knowledge is, the need of current times. And today we also came to know that there is another virus that is killing this virus. And this virus is known as GotCon. As you can already imagine, what is GotCon? What kind of virus is this? It's really a viral that doesn't even, require social distancing. Even if I'm not seeing you, even if I'm online and you are online, we can get infected by this virus. So this viral wave that has gone is of God consciousness. Everyone is now relishing God consciousness. Sitting at their home, they are going online to YouTube, attending webinars, they are attending satsangas, they are going on to the Zoom sessions, they are engaging, doing japa together. So again, everyone is realizing, and there are many blessings that's coming, right? Because previously we were always rushing against time, we were saying we don't have time to worship Lord, to engage in devotional service. Now, this is a blessing in disguise. Blessing in adversity, you can say. That we have been given this opportunity to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord and engage in devotional service. So no matter which religion you belong to, pick up whatever grantha that you have. If you are a Muslim, pick up Quran. If you are a Christian, pick up Bible. If you are a Hindu, pick up Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and read it, meditate on it. look at the message of the Lord and how we can incorporate that message in shaping our lives. Because every word here, if we pay attention, is spiritual. And in the spiritual world, every word is a dance, is a song, and every step is a dance. So when you look from that vision, from Shastra Chakshus, from the vision of the scriptures, you will be enlivened again. Another factor that we see is when we chant the holy name. Of course, we take proper nourishment, we take proper sleep, we sleep sufficient time, we take proper care by doing exercises and so forth. We keep our body healthy because that's a responsibility. So that's like taking care of the cage very nicely. But at the same time, by getting infected by this God-con, which is virally spreading online, virtual world, it's a virtual universe, that's where it's spreading, we can enliven and nourish our soul. We can again be self-situated in our constitutional position. And what's our constitutional position as living entities, Jiva Tattvas? Jivera Swarupa Hoye Krishnera Nityadas Krishnera Tathastha Shakti Bedhabed Prakash. Jivera Swarupa Hoye Krishnera Nityadas. All the living entities are the eternal servant of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's how this opportunity has come our way, and let's not let it pass by. We should be very careful of every moment that we are, and this is something to be very grateful for. So we should be very grateful, because who is great? God is great, and He shows His gratefulness to His devotees by blessing them immensely and keeping them in His shelter, so no miseries. The three modes of material nature don't affect them. Similarly, a devotee is very grateful to the Lord, to the devotees, to the opportunities that come our way. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and He has expanded Himself, and He is in everyone's heart as Super Soul, Paramatma. And Paramatma is overseer and permitter to all our activities. He is our well-wisher. Surhridam Sarva Bhutanam. So He is our well-wisher, and He will never wish bad for us. Yet at the same time, He is giving us this opportunity where we can engage in devotional service and again nourish the soul that has been starving for many, many years, make our soul strong, make our soul healthy, and engage in devotional service so we can go back home, back to Godhead with love and devotion. So now even the envy that causes someone to not share Krishna consciousness is an anartha, is an unwanted thing that can cause us, to be not able to progress further in our spiritual advancement. And the story of Aghasur in his previous birth, as given in Gar Samhita, is that this Aghasur was actually a very handsome man. His name was Agha, and once he saw Ashtavakra Muni. Ashta is 8, Vakram is distorted. So Ashtavakra Muni's body is distorted in 8 places. So when he walks, he has to walk with great difficulty. We hear later on in Mathura Leela, when Lord Krishna goes to Mathura, on his very first day, he sees Trivakra, right? Her body is twisted in 3 places. So here, Ashtavakra Muni, he is walking with great difficulty because his body is twisted in 8 places. This handsome Aghas, he looks at the Muni and says, "Who is this ugly person?" And when he says that, Ashtavakra Muni becomes angry. And if he's saying, "Oh, you think that I am ugly, you become the ugliest of all, you become a snake." And when that is heard by Agha, when Agha hears this, he is shaken inside because he was very proud of his, handsome features, very nice looks and so forth. And now he has been cursed by a Muni, and he immediately recognizes his mistake, so immediately falls dandavats at the lotus feet of Ashtavakra Muni, and he prays for forgiveness. And at that time, being a compassionate soul, Ashtavakra Muni at that time blesses him that even though he will appear in the body of a snake, he would be delivered by Lord Shri Krishna himself. So while he was cursed, he immediately corrected his mistake by asking for forgiveness. It is very important. And Srila Prabhupada also, during his time, he also exemplified. So sometimes he used to give dictation to his secretary. And the secretary was, when he was writing letters, he would get the message from Srila Prabhupada. He would write the letters and follow the instructions and send it to the various devotees Srila Prabhupada was addressing. So once it so happened that Srila Prabhupada, had given dictation, but then the devotee who had posted the letter had made a mistake. Srila Prabhupada had asked him to include an enclosure, and the devotee had forgotten to include the enclosure. So at that time, the devotee, realizing his mistake, went to Srila Prabhupada and said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, I forgot to include the enclosure." So Srila Prabhupada said, "Oh." So he said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, what can I do? I'm so fallen. What can I do? I'm so fallen, I'm so deluded. I forgot to include the enclosure in the letter that I sent." So Srila Prabhupada said, "Then what should I do?" So he did not realize what Srila Prabhupada was meaning initially. So he said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, what can I do? I'm so fallen, I'm so fallen." But Srila Prabhupada made it most, and he asked him, "What should you do?" So at that time, realizing that Srila Prabhupada is asking him to rise from his fallen position and to take the proper action, the devotee immediately recognized his mistake. He said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, I would write a letter of apology and this time include the enclosure and send it to the recipient of that letter." And Srila Prabhupada smiled and he said, "Do that." So he is teaching us by his example that a spiritual master is seeking the welfare of his disciple, and he is constantly guiding the disciple. And so today we are also hearing here how Lord Krishna is teaching Lord Brahma. So that's going to be the main amazing pastime that we will be sharing. Many of the pastimes are there. So again, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a summary of various pastimes, and there are many more pastimes that have not been included here because of the time requirement, because it's a commentary on the Vedanta. Another aspect Srila Prabhupada shared is the characteristics of a snake. So Agha was a python, and Srila Prabhupada was walking with his disciples and devotees. He shared this. What is the nature of a snake? Nature of a snake does not have limbs to work with. It slithers onto the ground. And yet at the same time, it is able to survive. And there is a great secret that he reveals from Chanakya Pandit's teachings. Basically what happens? A mouse is working day and night. Right? So when a mouse is looking for a home, it digs a hole. After digging the hole, it's really tired and hungry. So at that time, it goes out of the hole to look for food. And it's going looking for grains and various kind of foodstuffs and vegetables and whatnot. And when he's looking out, the snake comes and nicely goes inside the hole. And then it puts its face facing the opening of the hole. So, as he has gone inside the hole, turns back and now faces with its mouth open, just like Aghasur was, looking to engulf, means again literally swallow the cowherd boys and Lord Krishna, just like that. So a snake by nature just opens its mouth and goes to sleep. Now mouse is working very hard to find all kind of food grains and food stuffs and so forth. And mouse has this has the tendency to hoard. Now you can understand, I'm going over there, who has the tendency to hoard stuff for future. So mouse has this tendency to hoard a lot of food stuff in its cheeks and so forth. And it's very tired after having worked to dig a hole as its home and now searching for food. And it just comes, rushing into the home thinking it will rest. And it goes inside the home, and what does the snake do? Which is sleeping, closes its mouth. And now, mouse who has been working very hard day and night, so just like human beings, we work very hard day and night to survive in this material world. Not realizing that we are going to be bewildered again and again. So the Pavargas reveal that. So Srila Prabhupada covers this teaching in Pavargas as well. Pa-pa-ba-bha-ma. Pa stands for Parishram. So lot of endeavor, over-endeavoring to collect various kind of stuff for survival. So Pa represents Parishram. Pa is Pena. Because when we are working so hard, just like you see in the case of goats and bulls and horses, the foam starts forming in their body. So that's Fena, which is foam. So because of that, our body gets tired. Ba is after doing all this stuff, we are Brahmit. So again, we are bewildered. And when we are bewildered, we don't understand why we are getting bewildered. We worked so hard. We should be able to get so much, results, but we are attached. If we are attached, the materialist is attached to the fruits of their results. And they are constantly bewildered because they do not get the results what they want. And even if they get the results, they are not satisfied with the results they want. And even if they get extra results, that's also bewildering. So they're constantly bewildered. And because of this bewilderment, they feel fear, bhai. So they're in constant fear, constant anxiety. And then at the end is mrityu. And this is the way they spend their life and they die. So the request is, please don't live like a materialist. Don't just be seeking sense and enjoyment, just sense gratification. Rather, take to devotional service, because that's where you will get fearlessness. You will not be bewildered because you will surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, of Lord Shri Krishna, and be able to overcome such fearful situations. And you will not be engaged in over-endeavoring because you will not be seeking sense gratification. Rather, you will be engaging to satisfy the senses of the Supreme Lord, Lord Shri Krishna, who is also known as Rishikesha, the master of the senses. So thus, in this manner, we can continue to engage and purify ourselves. When we engage in devotional service to the Lord, that is our true nature. And because that is our true nature, we feel satisfied. Our soul gets nourished and we get purified over the process. And one of the best ways to remove anarthas, which could be hindering our progress in spiritual life, is to hear Krishna Leela. Because when we hear Krishna Leela, the various kind of anarthas that we may have, those we are getting rid of. Just by hearing Krishna Leela, who are very new, and they appear newer and newer every time when we hear, and they appear fresher and fresher, navinanam. Constantly, rejuvenating us. Constantly, iti dik swalila bhiranand kunde. These pastimes are constantly immersing us in the ocean of bliss. So as says Satyavrata in the Damodashtikam, the third verse, he's saying, iti dik swalila bhiranand kunde. When we are listening to the pastimes of Lord Krishna, we are constantly immersed in the ocean of bliss. So here, the snake propensity, the nature of snake has been identified. And Srila Prabhupada, later on in the same talk, he reveals that banks behave like that. All they do is, they give mortgage to people who want to, have a home. And then, if they are not able to pay the amount back to the bank occupies the home, as well as all the funds that they have given to date. And on top of that, it goes after the householders who have taken the mortgage to recover the amount that could not be recovered from selling the house. And sometimes people have to go through foreclosure and so forth. And it's all by providence because of the previous karmas. I'm not saying that devotees don't face such situations. Because of the past karma, sometimes devotees have to face such situations. Now the important thing is the word mortgage. It has a very important lesson in it. Mortgage is made of two words. So it's a compound word, mort and then gage. Mort means death and then gage is engagement. So once you take mortgage, you are actually signing up on a paper to engage until death. And who are you working for? You are working for the bank. So sometimes the CPAs and the accountants, they tell you this, oh, you take mortgage and you don't have to pay any interest on the amount that you are paying, which is the interest you are paying. Well, what they are telling you is that that's the money you never made. You worked for the banks and that money directly went to the bank. And if you have become a defaulter at any time, unable to pay the monthly installment that you're supposed to be paying, the bank will occupy your house. So that's the case of a snake. Just like the snake occupies the house of the mouse as well as eats of the mouse. So sometimes that's the way they behave. And I do work for many of the financial institutes, and I try to give them this, look at the whole perspective, not to be greedy, because we have enough need the earth has enough to meet everyone's need, but not enough to meet even one person's greed. And it could very well be that greed could be spilling over all over the place. And what kind of association you have matters the most. If you really want to be greedy, then be greedy for devotional service. Be greedy in chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Because what is going to be your focus, that will determine your destination. That will determine the goal. That will determine the results you will get. And still, you should not be attached to the results of your work. Rather, you should be engaging in carrying out your prescribed duty. So, as we hear from this lesson, as Aghasur is killed, and then Lord Krishna, he brings back to life all his cowherd boys who had actually walked into the mouth of Aghasur. And then when they are all back to life and all this celebration is going on, Lord Brahma comes out and he's amazed and he's looking what's next. And he's seeing that Lord Krishna, he suggests to his friends that let's sit at the bank of Yamuna and let's have our lunch here. Lord Krishna is sitting in the center. And all these boys are gathered around Lord Krishna just as in layers, like petals of lotus flowers. So that's how the description goes. That Lord Krishna appears like a whirl of the lotus flower. And all these cowherd boys are sitting around him, just like lotus petals surrounds the world. And in this manner, and they are doing very nice, they're smiling, they're joking, they're having very nice conversation. Now that is also very important for us to understand. That when we are at the dinner table, when we are eating with the family, we should engage in light talks. We should not engage in any negative expression. That is very important. We should, because the food that we are eating has consciousness. First of all, it should always be offered to the Lord with love and devotion, so it is purified. And we should not try to make it impure by sharing negative thoughts. Rather, we should be sharing positive thoughts. And the best thoughts to share is to discuss Lord's pastimes, as how amazing his pastimes are, and how sweet they are, and how rejuvenating they are to us, to our soul and to our very, well-being. So here, Lord Krishna, he is, eating, and that amazes Lord Brahma further. He is bewildered, he is astonished, he is flabbergasted, he is mystified by this scene where Lord Krishna is sharing the foodstuff with these cowherd boys. Many of these cowherd boys are demigods who had taken birth in Yadu dynasty and had taken birth as the sons of the cowherd men. So he is amazed that Lord Krishna, who is also just known as Yajna Bhuk, so he only eats at the offerings of Yajna. He is eating with all these cowherd boys, and he has this doubt in his mind. Is it really the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He's eating it so easily with all these boys. How could it be? And sometimes it just so happens that he was even sharing. So after he has taken the bite, he is giving to the cowherd boys, and he is taking different foodstuffs from them and relishing. And his description is very nicely given on his left hand, on his left palm. He has a mixture of yogurt, rice, and clarified butter. And between his fingers, he has the slices of fruits. And he's relishing that too, as he's eating. So it just so happens as all the cowherd boys and Lord Krishna, they are having this nice picnic. So this is the beginning of picnic, right? And we also heard as how all the cowherd boys used to sport. So all the sports that we see in this material world, they're basically originating from Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavan. So here, all these different kind of sports that we know, and these sports are played in a very jubilant manner, not in a competitive, because there is competition, spiritual competition, but it is to encourage others to grow better instead of, become envious. So again, you have to be very careful when you look at the spiritual realm, and we'll hear more about that. So as Lord is relishing the different kind of foodstuffs, joking and smiling with all these cowherd boys, suddenly the cowherd boys observed that the calves are not there on the pasturing grounds, and they may have gone for greener grass, so they became frightened. And when the boys became frightened, Lord Krishna, he is Bhaktavatsala. He did not want his devotees, who are in the form of these cowherd boys, to feel any fear. So he is going to instill fearlessness, because he immediately says, oh, you don't worry about it, don't get frightened. I'm going to go and get all the calves. You continue to eat. He did not want to interrupt this wonderful, jubilant, happy pastime of all these cowherd boys who are relishing and enjoying picnic on his asking initially. So carrying his food stuff, the mix of yogurt, rice and clarified butter and the fruits, he has his flute, tied onto the right side. He has his bugle and the stick on his left side, very nicely dressed with ornaments, silk clothes in yellow. He is looking for the calves. So he goes to look for the calves. And he's looking for the calves and not finding them anywhere. So again, Lord Krishna, he knows past, present, and future. Yet at the same time, he's showing as if he's not able to find the calves, and he doesn't know where they have gone. He's looking, on top of the hills, he's looking in the mountain caves, he's looking in the forest. And then when he comes back, what does he see? That all the cowherd boys are also not there. At that time, Lord Krishna meditates and he knows who has caused this. So this is where Lord Brahma, when he was watching for Satyaloka, he saw how he came to that arena where Lord was enjoying nice food stuff and joking and smiling with all the cowherd boys. Lord Brahma wanted to show his mysticism. So he is a great mystic, right? So he wanted to show his prowess to the Lord. And so he had stolen all the calves, the unlimited calves, and those cowherd boys, and he had taken them to the bed of his mystic energy, and they were sleeping. So they were in nidra, in sleep, great sleep, because of the mystic power of Lord Brahma. And he wanted to see what would Krishna do when all the calves and the cowherd boys go missing. At that time, Lord, understanding what has happened, he smiled. And immediately he expanded himself into various calves, those unlimited calves. He also expanded himself into those cowherd boys. And each expansion into each cowherd boy took exactly the features of that cowherd boy, the characteristics of the cowherd boy, was dressed like the cowherd boy, who spoke like the cowherd boy. So again, he expanded into all these cowherd boys. And so, while it was an offense, somebody could say, but it was actually something that the Lord relished, because the gopis and the cowherd men, the elderly gopis of Vrindavan and the cowherd men and the cows, they had been loving the Lord and always meditating, but they were only able to get limited association of the Lord. So now this is a great opportunity where Lord Krishna, as he returns with all his expansions as cowherd boys, and he is walking to Vrindavan. The residents who used to look for the return of Lord Krishna, as all the other cowherd boys were coming with him, they were always attracted by Lord Krishna. They were just looking to get the glimpse of Lord Krishna. And gopis, they were so much disturbed that they even cursed Brahma. That why did he create the eyelids? Because when the eyelids close, they are not able to see Lord Krishna. So here, they are constantly looking at the Shyam Sundar form, the beautiful form of Lord Krishna, who even enchants Madan, the Cupid, Kamdev. So as they are constantly looking, on this particular occasion, they are also looking at their son, and they are feeling the same attraction, the same love, the same emotion, the same affection as they used to feel towards Lord Krishna. And so, as the cowherd boys, they went there to their respective homes, the mothers were embracing their sons, and those mothers were giving their sons nice bath. And because of the affection and the love and the surrender they have for Lord Krishna, because of their motherly form, the Vatsalya ras that they were experiencing, the milk was coming out from their breast, and they were feeding their sons. After giving them bath, dressing them nicely, they were feeding their sons. Similarly, when the cows, they saw their calves returning, and in the evening when the calves came, the mothers, they were licking their calves very nicely, and their udders were flowing with milk. So previously, only Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, my mother Yashoda, were able to have such a wonderful pastime of constantly embracing Krishna, constantly engaging with Lord Krishna. But now, whole of Vrindavan, all the mothers of those cowherd boys were able to get the same ecstasy. All the cows who had calves, they were able to feel the same ecstasy. And so such wonderful pastimes were going on. Another scriptures is very nicely given as how mothers were engaging in different activities, right? Previously we heard that Lord Krishna would go to different homes to steal butter, right? That's why he's also known as butter thief, Makhan Chor. Now the same incidents are happening at home. Mothers were putting those butter pots high up, and their own boys were breaking it to enjoy the butter. And they were wondering, why is this happening? Because this is Krishna, who has expanded as their sons. And this is Krishna who is enjoying that butter, which represents their love, their devotion, their affection, as they are constantly engaged in devotion service of Lord Krishna. The pastime continues, and once it just so happens that Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna, they have gone along with these cowherd boys who are none other than expansions of Lord Krishna, for calves, with calves, and they are at the valley area near the Govardhan hill. And it just so happens that some of the cows, they were able to see their calves, and feeling their love towards their calves, they rushed down. Even though there was great difficulty, these cows were running to embrace their calves. And when they came down, their udders were overflowing with milk, and they were licking their calves as if they're going to swallow them. That's how Shukadeva Goswami is describing that these cows were licking their calves, because these calves are also expansions of Lord Krishna, who is expanded into these calves. And as they were feeling this affection, their udders were flowing with milk, and they were feeding this milk to their calves. And at that time, cowherd men, they came down. And these cowherd men were very disappointed, and they were angry because they could not stop these cows from coming down, right? Because their whole livelihood depends on the milk they get from these cows. And the calves get it later. And there's this practice of taking calves also is to get them, to learn how to eat grass, because that's how they're going to grow, by eating grass. And as they grow up, they will continue to eat grass, and also not take all the milk from the cows, because the milk from the cows helps in nourishing them, but they should not get too fat and all that. So here, as the cowherd men are coming down, they are highly frustrated, they are angry. Here at the same time, when they look at their sons, all that anger dissipates, it just evaporates. There is not a tinge of anger. Rather, they come forward and they embrace their sons, and they pick up their sons in their hands. They are loving their sons, kissing their sons, smelling their hair, and feeling that affection, because these cowherd boys are none other than expansions of Lord Krishna. So there is a great pastime, and Lord Balaram is looking at all this and he is surprised. What is going on? How is this cowherd man who had this affection for Krishna is suddenly feeling the same affection for their own sons? And how is it that he's thinking, I, Balaram, who is always feeling so much affection for Lord Krishna, also feeling the same affection towards all these cowherd boys. And he is bewildered. So even before Brahma's bewilderment comes the bewilderment of Balaram. And he is in doubt, he is thinking, what kind of prowess is this? Is it some kind of some demigoddess? Or is it some demoness? Oh, it has to be the potency of my Lord. He's thinking that this is none other than the potency of Lord Krishna. So at that time, to clarify his doubt, he asks Lord Krishna. He says, how is it that I am feeling the same affection and everyone is having the same affection? At that time, Lord Krishna reveals to him that, oh my dear brother Balaram, this is because Lord Brahma has stolen all the calves and the cowherd boys. And I have expanded so that their mothers don't feel the loss of their sons. And Lord Balaram is in ecstasy because now he has great opportunity to serve Lord Krishna because his expansions are at the equal level. And he is relishing these pastimes. At various homes, even the mothers and the sisters and the cowherd men, they are relishing, they are feeding their sons with their own hands. Can you imagine is what fortunate situation they get? Because their sons are expansions of Lord Krishna, who is expanded to just appear just like their sons, talk like their sons, behave like their sons, and becomes even so attractive. Because they are none other than Lord Krishna's expansion, not different from Krishna. So the fathers are feeding them with their own hands, feeling that affection towards their own sons. And when they are playing with their mother during the days and playing with their playmates, who are not as grown up, they are 3 years, 4 years old, and different ones who are on the Pandurka, who have started going for cow herding, who have the protective feeling to protect Krishna, suddenly get that feeling to protect all these cowherd boys as well, not just Krishna. And they are amazed as how everyone is looking so blissful. Now Lord Brahma, he comes after a moment of his time. So again, we have to understand that moment of his time is a whole year that has passed. Because in one day of Brahma, there are 1,000 times of Chaturyugas. So he comes back in a moment of his time, which is a whole 1 year of earthly time. And when he comes back, what does he see? He sees that all the cowherd boys and the calves are there. And everyone is jubilant and having wonderful time with their sons, and the cows are enjoying and relishing, taking care of their calves. All the cowherd men and the cowherd elderly gopis, they are in complete bliss. And Lord Krishna is joking with his cowherd boys. So he's amazed. He's perplexed. So seeing Lord Brahma, Lord Krishna reveals to him what has happened. And suddenly all the calves, the unlimited calves, and all these cowherd boys, they change into the Vishnu forms. So Murti is the word used in the, when Shukadeva Goswami is identifying. Murti is translated as forms. So Lord Krishna has expanded into all these cowherd boys and the calves, who are none other than all Vishnu Tattvas. All of them have four-arm form. They are holding conch, Padma, which is the lotus flower, the Kaundaki, club, and chakra. So, Shank, Chakra, Padma, and Gada. So they are holding those in each of their arms. They have the dark complexion just like Lord Krishna, each one of them. They are nicely bedecked with ornaments from head to toe, with very nice helmets, nice earrings. They are also wearing a belt, golden belt. They are having armlets on their arms. They have anklets in their feet. And they are dressed in yellow silken cloth. So at that time, Lord Brahma is bewildered and he's amazed, he is mystified, looking at the prowess of Lord Krishna. And he feels at that time that his prowess is just like the glowworm in daytime. So at night, the glowworm can show some light, but when the sun is up and it's a bright sunny day, the glowworm has no effect. He's feeling just like the snow in daytime, it's like at night. So the snow at daytime reflects the light, the sunlight, and so it looks very glittering, yet at the same time it has no effect. At night, nobody would notice it. Just like, his mysticism is like a doll, as a play toy for a boy, versus the temple deity, who is an Arjuna Vigraha, non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So such is the difference, and he's feeling that, what he has done by showing his mystic power is like trying to show lamp to the sun. So he's feeling that. And at that time, Lord Krishna removes the curtain of Yogamaya. Mahatmanastu Mampata Yogam Prakriti Mashraya. So again, at that time, the curtain of Yogamaya is lifted and Lord Brahma is able to see the transcendental Vrindavan, where he is saying that there are ferocious animals, elephants, tigers, lions and deers. They are living with perfect harmony. There is no hunger, there is no thirst, there is no misery in Golok Vrindavan. Everyone is in bliss, enjoying transcendental pastimes with Lord Shri Krishna. And then suddenly he sees that Lord Krishna is, in his hand carrying the mix of yogurt and rice and clarified butter and the fruits in his hand, just like it was a year before. He's looking for his calves, in the forest. And at that time, Lord Brahma, who has a golden body, his complexion is golden, he immediately falls dandvat, like a rod. Dand is rod, vat means like a rod, So he falls straight at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. And then he is, washing his feet, holding his feet. He's touching first his feet by the tip of his helmet. So he has 4 helmets because he has 4 faces, heads. And he is, giving him abhishek by washing the lotus feet of the Lord by his tears. And that's when he starts reciting many prayers to the Lord. So this is where this chapter ends. And again, when you hear this pastimes, what's the blessing? You get rid of the anarthas that come from mundane activities, the whimsical activities, and speculative scholasticism. So as Gyanis, they are constantly looking at speculation. That tendency goes away and you are able to follow the acharyas properly by looking at the teachings which reveals the great secrets. So instead of doing whimsical mental speculation, we are able to take shelter of the scriptures of the acharyas, of the various sadhus, associating with sadhus, and understand the knowledge as it is, as Lord Krishna reveals to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita as it is. And so this is where we kind of like end this particular chapter, where Lord Brahma is going to recite the prayers. And this was the last chapter in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam where Srila Prabhupada translated it in English. And then afterwards, chapter 14 onwards, we'll see the translation by his disciples. And they refer to many granthas and many other acharyas like Sridhar Swami's writings, and also refer to Krishna book, which was earlier completed by Srila Prabhupada when he covered Lord Krishna's pastimes. So today this is where this particular chapter ends, and where we heard as how, even though it could be considered as an offense, but it was actually a wonderful pastime where the whole of Vrindavan was immersed in ecstatically engaging in devotional service and relishing the sweet pastimes with Lord Shri Krishna, who expanded himself as the cowherd boys, who were the sons of the elderly cowherd gopis and cowherd men, and how the calves provided that relishing pastime to the cows. And now we would also do Narsingha Devati. So at this particular time, thanks for joining us for Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class on 10th canto, chapter 13, the stealing of cowherd boys and calves by Brahma. Kanta Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Kore Vaishnavinda ki jai. Now we'll do the Narsingha Dev prayers for our protection as well as for the protection of the whole world. And please join us. We are very thankful to you for attending the session today, and let's sing it together as we continue to seek protection at the lotus feet of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Namaste Narasimhaya, Namaste Narasimhaya, Prahlad Lad Daine, Prahlad Lad Daine, Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha, Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha, Shilatankana Khalaye, Shilatankana Khalaye, Ito Nasingha Parato Nasingha, Ito Nasingha Parato Nasingha, Yato Yato Yami Tato Nasingha, Yato Yato Yami Tato Nasingha, Vahe Nasingha Hridaye Nasingha, Vahe Nasingha Hridaye Nasingha, Narasingha Madim Sharanam Prapadye, Narasingha Madim Sharanam Prapadye, Tav Kar Kamal Vare Nakham Adbhuta Shingham, Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bhringam, Keshavaditya Narahari Rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Kar Kamal Vare Nakham Adbhuta Shingham, Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bhringam, Keshavaditya Narahari Rupa, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Narsingha Dev, 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 Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. भक्तों विघ्न विनाशक नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, निताय गौ प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा।